9 minutes away from the closing bell. So glad you're watching it with us. The stock market slipping lower, moving into the final minutes. Dow Jones Industrials down 66 points. And I have to tell you, I was watching for a while there. The Morgan Stanley Healthcare Index was up, and the semiconductors and the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index were higher. Now it's just the SOX index, and pretty much most of this is a broad-based move to the downside, but the volume's not massive.
Volume's not massive, although there is an emphasis in the downside within the financial sector. You might remember Goldman Sachs was one of those financials that seemed to be somewhat immune from what was happening to all the others. Well, no more. It's down about 5% today. There are some concerns about its exposure to the subprime mess.
Yeah, even though, and you heard it here from Hank Greenberg, formerly of AIG and now of Star Company, he said that Goldman played this pretty well, at least from the surface of it.
Yeah, well, he should know. He has some of that stock. He's also a huge stockholder in other companies that have subprime mortgages. Of course, what we're finding out is just about every stock that you can buy has some exposure to it. Just about everybody's into it. Well, what happened? Our Fox Business panel begins with Tracy Burns at the New York Stock Exchange, and tell us what happened, at least in today's market. You don't have to take on the whole subprime mess, Tracy. Just today's marketplace.
Not today. You can get back to me on that, though. That's for sure. Well, today, actually, I think overall everyone's pretty happy with what happened. You know, we had this run-up last week. Everyone wants to make sure we don't give it all back, and we held on. I mean, down 68 points, it's not terrible. The financials, no surprise, brought us back down again. You know, J.P. Morgan came out a little late than never, if you ask me, but downgraded again the big banks, and they came down. And so they pulled the market down. On the upside, though, we had the flight to quality stocks doing really well, you know, like the Reynolds, the Altria. You know, the tobacco stocks are up 30% for the year. I hate to say that people are making money off of those little cigarettes out there, even though that's not what anybody wants to hear. But people are smoking, and we're making money off of them. But for the most part, we're waiting on economic news. We're waiting on OPEC. OPEC's meeting on Wednesday. We're waiting on same-store sales numbers, Friday's jobs number, and the Fed next week. So I think we're going to see a lot of this wait and see. People have no real reason to put money in right now. The good news, though, is that they're not pulling their money out. So that, I think, is a good way to end the day. Liz, David, back to you guys.
Tracy, thank you. Peter Schiff, what do you think? I mean, we've had a day where there didn't seem to be very exciting trading, at least to the upside. And once again, the financials very sensitive to any kind of perception that the subprime fallout has not entirely fallen out.
I mean, the financials are going to lead the market lower. And, you know, unfortunately, a lot of companies that aren't in the financial industry earn a lot of their money through financial services. A big percentage of the S&P earnings comes from finance, and the earnings are going to continue to falter. So you're going to see weakness in the financials, in the home builders, in the retailers. The only bright spots, if you want to call them bright spots, are going to be export-oriented businesses. You know, you just mentioned tobacco. I mean, one of the reasons tobacco is doing so well is we sell a lot of tobacco products abroad. They smoke a lot more in Asia and Europe than we do here, and so you know, the weak dollar, we're exporting more cigarettes.
It's also because you look at these write-downs and you say, I need a cigarette, Pat.
Well, that's true. And, you know, people do not give up smoking and when they raise the price of a pack of cigarettes because they're addicted to it. So it makes sense that even in a market which would be difficult, people are still going to smoke and they're still going to be buying their cigarettes. I think there aren't a lot of compelling reasons to get people off the sidelines in here to buy yet. And I think that it's going to be a sort of a sloppy market as we sort of drudge our way through to the end of the year. So I don't think today is going to be that unusual a period. I hate, though, to get into that short-term, like, pessimism. Because
we're still way over 13,000, 13,255.
You know, and I remember back in July when we crossed 14,000 for the first time, and I remember all the enthusiasm with the people I was on the air with. I think I was the only one that said markets go down as well as up. Sure. So I wouldn't worry too much about this.
Gary Kalpom, what are you optimistic about?
It's my son's birthday this weekend.
Oh, happy birthday.
We're going to have a big party. Look, overall, I think the economy is in a big slowdown, but I am not calling for the Titanic like Peter is. And I think there's a lot of things that have to be worked out. But I just want to pinpoint something, and David said something here that's real important. Goldman Sachs today is acting like Michael Vick's football career right now. And if Goldman Sachs, after saying everything is fine, beautiful, lovely, and they're immune, coughs one up like Merrill Lynch, that's your next big leg down. And I also want to add, General Electric is starting to act a little bit like that also. And you know how many loans they're on? They're basically a financial company these days. So These are two very important things to watch right now.
Victoria, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to echo a little bit what Peter was talking about earlier. It's an important point, and that is that a lot of companies that you don't think of as lenders are lending out money to finance purchases. Harley-Davidson is one of these. We mentioned this in the current issue of Forbes, where 13% of their profits are coming from lending out monies to folks to buy motorcycles, and they're seeing their defaults rise, delinquent loans. So I still think we're in the stage where the market's going to be so rocky. You know, instead of a cigarette, grab some Dramamine, because it's going to be pretty nauseating.
Yeah, a lot of it. All right, thanks to our panel. The closing bell is just around the corner. Here's what's happening in the final minutes of trading. The Dow is down 61 points. We will be right back.